22 Celsius for London, whilst it's mid-teens north of the rain for Northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. Now, the cloud and rain through central areas sinks south and fizzles out overnight, clearing skies then across much of England and Wales, and clear spells as well for Scotland and Northern Ireland, but it stays blustery in the north with further showers north of the central belt. Temperatures in the north 8 or 9 Celsius, further south 12 or 13 Celsius, particularly for those areas that are slow to clear the cloud. Parts of Cornwall could keep some cloud as we start off Friday. Otherwise, widespread sunny skies for England and Wales during Friday morning. Cloudier from, say, Cumbria northwards, and further showers north of the central belt once again with that keen breeze coming in from the northwest. That's going to make it feel cool, but where we've got the sunshine further south, a warm afternoon to come with temperatures reaching the high teens or low 20s. Plenty more fine weather to come this weekend as high pressure develops widely up and down the country. Sunny spells for most.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV, on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Yes, good morning, everybody. This is To The Point on GB News with me, Patrick Christie's, and Mercy Moroki, live on your TV, radio and online.
Yes, we're here with you until midday again with the top stories of the day, expert guests to help us dig into those stories and our opinions as well.
Yes, of course, but the most important part is what you think, really. So get in touch with us, gbviews at gbnews.uk. We'll be reading and discussing those throughout the programme.
Yes, that's just in a moment. Before that, here's your news headlines with Rhiannon.
Thank you, Mercy. Good morning. It's 2 minutes past 10. Your top stories from the GB newsroom. The Chancellor is set to announce a multi-billion-pound package of support to ease the cost of living crisis. The measures are expected to include a discount on energy bills funded by a windfall tax on oil and gas companies. Labour, which has been calling for the move, says Rishi Sunak's finally being dragged kicking and screaming to a U-turn. Energy giants are warning the tax could do long-term damage to the oil and gas industry. Residents in Bristol told us they're struggling with the rising bills.
Currently it's okay, but I feel like we are going to be pushed to our limits. With the new baby in the household, the wife has decided to stay at home, so we've only got the one income at the minute. So yeah, we're really looking at the way we use our facilities, our water, our electricity, our food shop and everything.
We're struggling to, I think my parents are thinking of downsizing house-wise when like, I'm off to university next year, and they're like, we can't afford to live where we live because I think our like energy bills and stuff have gone up like threefold.
The acting head of the Met Police could face further questions over the Partygate investigation. Sir Stephen House will appear before the London Assembly's Police and Crime Committee. London Mayor Sadiq Khan wants to know why the Prime Minister was fined for just one event despite being pictured drinking at another. There have been fresh calls for Boris Johnson's resignation, but former Conservative MP Michael Brown told GB News he thinks he'll survive.
Boris is still in danger, Eamon. He's first of all got to get through this Privileges Committee report. Did he deliberately lie? It's a very high threshold. I think he'll get away with that. What he's not going to get away with over the next 18 months, though, is if he doesn't nuke inflation.
The Texas gunman who killed 19 children and 2 teachers was reportedly inside the primary school for up to an hour. Armed with an assault rifle, the suspect, Salvador Ramos, locked himself in a grade 4 classroom and opened fire. The 18-year-old posted an online message just minutes earlier, warning he was going to attack. President Joe Biden says he will visit Uvalde in the coming days to talk to the victims' families.
The idea that an 18-year-old can walk into a store and buy weapons of war designed and marketed to kill is, I think, just wrong. It just violates common sense.
A review into the deaths of Arthur Labinjo Hughes and Star Hobson is calling for a dedicated child protection teams to be set up in every local area. It says social workers, healthcare staff and police should work together in a fundamental change to child protection. Chair of the panel, Annie Hudson, says accounts by abusive parents are too often taken at face value.
Frequently expressed concerns by different family members were not taken seriously and they were not followed up. The real harm that these children were suffering was not fully understood, and therefore that the right decisions, the important decisions, were not taken at the right time.
The first case of monkeypox has been identified in Wales, bringing the total number across the UK to 79. Public Health Wales says the case is being managed and the overall risk to the general public is low. It's asking people to look out for symptoms including fever, muscle aches and exhaustion, along with a rash which starts on the face and then spreads. Ukraine says Russian forces have shelled more than 40 towns in the eastern Donbass region. Ukraine's armed forces are reporting that Russia's destroyed and damaged 47 civilian sites, including 38 homes and a school. It comes as Moscow claims there are some 8,000 Ukrainian prisoners of war in Luhansk and Donetsk. A British man with a debilitating condition has had a life-changing double hand transplant. 48-year-old Stephen Gallagher lost the use of his own hands because of an autoimmune disease called scleroderma, which causes scarring of the skin and internal organs. The father of 3 went ahead with the surgery despite being warned he could lose them altogether. He says his new hands are amazing.
The scleroderma of my hands started to close, and it got to the point where it was basically 2 fists. I'll never ever say that I won't be appreciative of it, because it's gave me another lease for life, basically.
Remarkable. This is GB News. We'll bring you more as it happens. Now, though, it's back to Patrick and Mercy with To The Point.
Good morning. This is To The Point on GB News with me, Mercy Moroki, and Patrick Christie's here on today's show. This is what's coming up.
Yes, OK, well, this infamous Sue Gray report into Downing Street parties was finally published yesterday, and it certainly received mixed reviews. Some are calling for the PM to go, others are adamant that we just need to move on, shut up and forget about it. Now, we want to hear your views, of course. GBviews at gbnews.uk. We've all seen some of these infamous pictures as well. What do you make of it?
Yes, and with that in mind, the Chancellor is expected to announce today a multi-billion-pound package to help people with the cost of living. It looks like we could finally see that controversial windfall tax on energy companies, but what else can families expect? Well, we'll be looking ahead to that and how we all could be slightly better off.
Yes, indeed, absolutely. Rishi. Anyway, later on, we'll be discussing monkeypox. Specifically, we'll be questioning why China seems to be preparing to cash in on this monkeypox outbreak. That's all across the world as well. They started to develop kits, vaccines. Basically, they've cornered the market in monkeypox. We're going to be speaking to Dr. Andrew Preston, an expert in infections, to discuss all of this very, very shortly.
Yes, and we'll be talking to a China expert as well to really get to what China are thinking on that. And that's just a taster. We have much, much more as well across the 2 hours we're here with you. And get in touch with what you think on our show. As usual, gbviews@gbnews.uk is the email. Now, yesterday was Grey Day, and no, I don't mean the weather. The publication of the long-awaited Sue Gray report into Downing Street lockdown parties, while the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, has insisted we need to move on, but there are fresh calls for him to go.
Well, the Prime Minister says he takes full responsibility for the scandal, but was quick to play down his personal involvement in the gatherings. Some of the more, some would say, damning revelations, I suppose, from the report included a minor brawl, vomiting, and basically even cleaners having to clean wine off the walls. But I've apologised for that and we've agreed to move on.
Yes, but as you well know, we are in a worsening cost of living crisis, which, as we mentioned, the Chancellor is expected to make an announcement about. So should we just now move on and let the Prime Minister and the government get on with the job of dealing with that?
Yes, well, joining us now to digest the Sue Gray report is our political correspondent, Tom Harwood. What did you make of 50 Shades of Grey?
Gosh, it really did not seem to be as... what on earth is the word to describe? I'm sure many people would say that the 50 Shades of Grey as a novel was quite graphic. And potentially Sue Gray's report was less graphic.
Yeah.
Potentially Sue Gray's...
I hope so. Otherwise, that really is a resigning matter.
Wasn't as salacious as people may have expected. To some extent, the Prime Minister last night at the 1922 committee meeting of backbench Conservative MPs was saying that actually he was quite glad the Sue Gray report had finally been out, said that it sort of clears up a lot of the ambiguity with these media stories of the last 6-7 months, cleans up the ideas in people's minds that was the Prime Minister the person who vomited on the wall or spilt wine or broke a swing or all of these things. Well, clearly in the Sue Gray report, no, the Prime Minister did not get up to any of that greater extremity of debauchery. No, in fact, we saw the pictures for which the Prime Minister was fined. In fact, they blazoned the front page of some newspapers, particularly The Sun and the Daily Mail this morning. And looking at these pictures, it doesn't actually look like he was having the most raucous time. No. It looks like quite a miserable affair, actually. And I think if I were to have a birthday party standing at my office table with a cheap sandwich in front of me, I think I'd be rather shortchanged.
Yes, I agree.
Well, Tom, you know, we mentioned there that the main picture on the newspapers is this one of the Prime Minister, and he's raising a glass of what looks to... What's it called?
A can of Coke, isn't it?
Well, there's a dispute
or maybe
as to whether that's an Estrella can.
Yeah.
There's a
okay, got it.
So that is
what event is this? Because there are other pictures where there is definitely, indisputably, alcohol in the picture. There are multiple bottles of open wine. So help us distinguish between those two events, because I agree, you know, this is not a party. Come on now.
No.
But
interestingly, this event, the one where he's holding that can aloft, is standing at his place at the Cabinet Room table, is looking really quite dour-faced, not very happy at all, standing there next to the Chancellor, with some orange juice on the table and some sandwiches. It looks like a terrible conference. I've been to some conferences that have a food set on about like this, and it doesn't look like the sort of most fun affair in the world. But that was the event for which he was fined. This one at the Cabinet table on the 19th of June 2020 is why the Prime Minister got a fixed penalty notice from the Metropolitan Police. And many people will be asking, what is exactly the difference between this particular event, where he's standing there with work colleagues before a meeting, yes, with some trinkets on the table. What is the difference between that and Sir Keir Starmer at a time of similar rules, indoor mixing banned, outdoor mixing legal, when Sir Keir Starmer was there with his beer, with his curry, milling around with many Labour staffers? Is that particularly different from the Cabinet Room event? Many people would suggest no.
Well, I think many people would suggest it's actually worse. But
and also, I'd look sad if I was standing next to a man who keeps taxing the hell out of me as well. But Tom, what has this changed in terms of the Prime Minister's popularity? Because you know, it's no secret here at GB News, especially on this show, we're always reading out views from our viewers and listeners saying, "Get over it, we don't care anymore." According to the polls this morning, has this affected anything?
We haven't got yet a wide-ranging view. Of course, it hasn't been that long since the report has been published. We need to wait a few more days to get those snap poll responses. But there are some indications already that nothing has really changed off the back of this report. It wasn't the big damning revelation that has sent the Prime Minister's popularity spiralling, but also it hasn't been a document that made people sit up and think, actually, this wasn't as bad as I thought in the first place. No, it seems like the Prime Minister has lost trust with many people in Britain. Not everyone. There are some people who still support him very fervently. A lot of people who write into this programme, for example, who still support him fervently, but they're in a minority. It's truthful to say that the majority of people of Britain feel like their trust in the Prime Minister has been shaken by this event. However, it is in between elections. The people of Britain get to vote once every 5 years or early if there's a snap poll. It's the MPs that matter in the meantime. And the MPs don't seem to feel like enough really has been revealed, enough has taken place to dislodge a Prime Minister at this stage.
No, absolutely. I mean, just having a quick look at what appears to be, anyway, on Boris Johnson's table, it's not massively dissimilar to what Eamon Holmes has in front of him every single morning, minus the beer, of course. You know, orange juice, apple juice, you know, some sandwiches. I mean, it's not the end of the world, is it?
What was noted, actually, is on those pictures of those sandwiches, you can see some reduced labels, some little yellow reduced labels.
They've saved the taxpayer money.
So clearly, I mean, it's not the most lavish affair, is it? And actually, looking at the picture of Boris Johnson's face around the cabinet room table looks fairly dour. And yet, then later in this November event, he looked a little bit happier with a glass of wine. But these are the two distinct pictures that or the two events that are pictured in the Sue Gray report. 9 photographs in total, out of over 500 photographs that were submitted to Sue Gray. So really, the 500 photographs, many people are saying, where on earth are they? Why can't we see all of these 500 photographs?
Why was it taken, really? But,
as far as we understand, the 9 photographs that have been published are those that involve the Prime Minister. The other 491. That's quick maths. The other 491 don't involve the Prime Minister. It's more junior staff, and that's why they weren't published.
Well, thank you, Tom, for bringing us that update. And as we say, lots of you are saying, let's crack on with the cost of living, and we are expecting the Chancellor later on today to make some announcements that may relieve the pain some people are feeling right now in their pockets. So we will bring you that as we have it. Now, as I was just mentioning, he will announce those changes, those plans he's bringing in. It's expected he's going to give every household in the country hundreds of pounds off their energy bills.
yeah, I mean, I welcome it, obviously, but government sources have also indicated that the relief could be as much as £400 each, costing a total of 10 billion quid. Well, our reporter Will Hollis has been in Nottingham this morning, where he's been speaking to local businesses about the cost of living crisis.
The day following on from those announcements, those revelations released in the Sue Gray report, we're talking a lot about cost of living. That seems to be because Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, and the Chancellor Rishi Sunak, two people that were receiving fixed penalty notices for parties, events that they attended during the lockdown period, during the pandemic. They really want to move on. That's the message that they're pushing today. It was what they were talking about yesterday, moving on from the Sue Gray report, dealing with the cost of living crisis. So we're here in Eastwood in Nottinghamshire talking to the businesses that may benefit from anything that they'll announce this morning. Of course, Rishi Sunak at 11:30 is expected to speak in Parliament about these new announcements, potentially a windfall tax, potentially ways that he's going to be reducing bills for businesses. We're here in Eastwood with Julie from Julie's Tea Room. Julie, how are your bills at the moment, particularly the big ones like gas and electricity?
Luckily, I've only got electric, and I'm lucky that I've got it on a fixed rate for another couple of years now. So at the moment, it's not really affecting, but obviously, eventually it will.
You're, as you say, lucky. Is that genuine luck, or were you pre-planning a little bit and being a bit smart with your money even before the pandemic, before the cost of living crisis?
Well, no, it was just, I was on a fixed term from when I first opened, and then I took another fixed term on when that ran out with another company. So it was just luck more than judgment. But, yeah, lucky.
and now you're looking ahead at when that fixed term will end. How are you expecting it to affect your bills and your business?
That's a bit worrying, because obviously people are saying the direct debits are going up, not the 50% they said, but 2-3 times as much as they are. If that comes the case, then for small businesses like us, it's a big worry, because it'll be crippling, really.
Where do you get most of your custom from? It's a fairly small tea room, you've got kind of the classics on the menu here. Who is it that's coming in, and what are they saying about their bills?
We get a lot of local people, a lot of older people, and they just seem to be taking it in the stride at the minute. They're thinking, well, I'm getting old now, if I want it, I'm having it. But it's the younger people that are obviously being more careful. If they've got children or, youngsters, whatever, teenagers, they've got to be more careful with the cost of everything. I mean, it's not just the power expenses going up, it's food costs, it's everything, which, they've got to be more careful.
We're hearing about announcements that are expected today, a one-off windfall tax on these massive profits that oil giants like Shell and BP have received. This one-off tax hopefully going to go towards reducing your energy bills and the energy bills of everybody in the UK. Does that go far enough, or do you think that something else is needed, and if so, what might that be?
I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that, because if they do this tax and there is a windfall, is it going to keep the cost down in the future, or are they going to do this and then again start and bump them up? Will the food costs come down because the fuel's coming down? I think once they put them up, I very much doubt they'll put them down too far. They don't normally, do they?
Julie, thanks for talking to us this morning. Obviously, lots of things that people are expecting to be said today, but the substance will really be in the words that Rishi Sunak says to Parliament later this morning, and the fallout from what comes afterwards.
Well, that was Will Hollis. After the break, we'll be talking to Donald Trump, talking about Donald Trump after he was dealt a huge blow when one of his candidates lost out in the race for governor of Georgia. We'll be asking what this means for his run for potential president again and for Britain and American relations. But first, the weather.
Hello, Alex Deacon here with your latest weather update. Three-way split today. Sunshine and showers for Scotland and Northern Ireland, a dull and damp zone in central areas, and then largely dry and bright in the south thanks to an area of high pressure. Low pressure is dominating further north, and it's in these central areas where we've got the dull, damp weather from these weather fronts bringing cloud and rain for much of the afternoon over parts of northern England, north and mid Wales, and into the Midlands at times. The far north of England may brighten up. Some fine weather for Northern Ireland, not too many showers here. Sunny spells across Scotland, but also quite a few showers drifting in at times on a brisk wind. Breezy in the far south, but mostly dry and bright at times here. Some sunny spells, particularly in the southeast, could see highs of 21 or 22. It feels a lot cooler than that, though, with the cloud and rain over northern England. That will sink away this evening. Bit of rain for a time over the Midlands, South Wales, and staying quite dank and misty overnight in southwest England. We'll keep some showers going in northern and western Scotland, but otherwise a dry night and with clear skies, turning quite chilly, especially in this central zone, parts of the Midlands, East Wales, well down into single figures, certainly rural areas, not too far off freezing actually to start Friday, but for most Friday's going to be a fine, bright day, starting cloudy over the Channel Isles. There will still be showers coming in across Scotland, mostly over the north, not too many through the central belt, and the showers also mostly in the morning, tending to ease off by the afternoon. Sunny spells then for quite a few of us during Friday. Temperatures mid to high teens, but quite warm in the south with light winds over the Midlands, South Wales and southern England, widely over 20 degrees Celsius. A fine Friday evening to come as well. Any showers across northern Scotland continuing to fizzle away. That'll lead into, by and large, a fine start to the weekend. Saturday, dry and bright with sunny spells for most, turning cloudier and quite a bit cooler for most of us, though, by Sunday. Goodbye.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV, on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you. And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Yes, very good morning, everybody. It's 10:24. This is To The Point with me, Patrick Christie's, and Mercy Mroki on GB News, live as ever on your TV, online and radio.
Yes, now, when it comes to American politics, one of the big questions on everyone's minds is Donald Trump going to make a comeback in the next election? Well, it looks like his grip on the Republican Party may not be as tight as he hopes after some of his hand-picked candidates were beaten in key races in Georgia.
Well, this adds to the losses of Trump-backed candidates in Idaho and Nebraska. But is it all doom and gloom for President Trump? Could a new era of Trump make a comeback at the next election? And, of course, why should it matter to Boris?
Yes, well...
Brits?
Yes, well, helping us wrap our heads around all of this is American political commentator Laurie Laird, who joins us now. Good morning, Laurie.
Good morning.
Well, look, it's not all doom and gloom for President Trump. These are just primaries, and he hasn't. Not all of his backed candidates have lost. But what does this say, perhaps, about the prospects of President Trump running for the next election?
Well, you're right. It is a mixed bag, and certainly the race you mentioned in Georgia, Brian Kemp, who was a Republican, and a Republican. This is the race for governor in Georgia, and not only is Brian Kemp a Republican, he's a Republican in the mold of Donald Trump. Their views are indistinguishable, but Donald Trump is still carrying a grudge because Brian Kemp refused to decertify Georgia's votes for Joe Biden in the 2020 election. Donald Trump's still very angry about that. He threw his weight behind David Perdue, who really almost looked like a ventriloquist dummy on the campaign trail. I mean, all of his rhetoric was very Trumpian. He lost by a mile. I mean, Brian Kemp had 71% of the vote. I mean, that is a wipeout in any country. That's the kind of vote you tend to see in dictatorships. So not even close. But a different, as you mentioned, a different case in other places. In Pennsylvania, the Trump-picked candidate for Governor, Doug Mastriano, did very, very well. But a mixed bag in the Pennsylvania Senate, where the Trump-picked candidate, Mehmed Oz, is also in a runoff situation with David McCormick. So Trump, very, very mixed. You ask the question, is Trump losing his grip on the Republican Party? I think the answer really does have to be yes. It's amazing that we're still talking about Donald Trump. It's been almost 2 years since he lost the election, but his influence on the party is important. And I'm going to go ahead and say, I think it's Trump is the problem. I think Trump's sentiment, I think the Make America Great Again sentiment is alive and well in the Republican Party. It's just that President Trump, ex-President Trump, is so very focused at the moment on whether the election is stolen. Most Republicans, whether they support the stolen election or not, they've moved on.
it matter for us here in Britain what is happening with President Trump? Because, you know, Joe Biden's not particularly popular, but neither was Trump, to be honest. I mean, despite all of that, we do still have a special relationship with America, irrespective of president. So why should it matter if Trump comes back or not?
It's a very good question, and I think it would matter if Donald Trump were to come back, and I would venture that Donald Trump is only going to run if he thinks he's going to win. So I think that decision may be a year or so off. I think the rhetoric between Britain and the U.S. will change were Donald Trump to be elected or re-elected. He likes Boris Johnson. Whether Boris Johnson would get, assuming Boris Johnson is in office once the 2020 election rolls around, and Donald Trump's relationships are very personal. His relationship was with Boris Johnson rather than the Conservative Party. But all of the goodies that Donald Trump has sort of dangled before Boris Johnson, get out of the EU, we'll give you a trade deal. I think that will remain just talk. Trade deals are done by Congress, and there is absolutely no appetite under any party, under any president, for any more free trade deals. So I think that the mood music between the U.S. and Britain would change under Donald Trump or under any Republican president. Joe Biden has made no secret of his dislike of what's going on in Britain. He's very unhappy about the potential of the Northern Irish Protocol being torn up. So I think a Republican president, particularly Donald Trump, would be a lot more amenable, would say all the right things about Britain. Whether policy, whether the nuts and bolts of the relationship would change, I think is an open question. Certainly trade wouldn't.
OK, all right, Laurie, look, thank you very, very much. Laurie Laird there, of course. American political commentator whizzing us through what's been going on, or what could potentially go on, I should say, really, with the American next election. Now we're going to go into the inbox, GBNews.uk. Lots of you getting in touch about the Partygate report, obviously the Sue Gray report. I would ask GB News to stop reporting Partygate and Sue Gray's report. How many others are sick of this? And that is from Margaret. Thank you very much, Margaret. You know, kind of agree.
Yeah, well, Joanne makes an interesting point. She says, hi, Patrick and Mercy. Journalists are... and the opposition are conflating two issues, the rules and the parties. Basically, she's saying they're using people's grief, but even if these parties hadn't happened, the rules were still there. So I think Joanne is getting at that we should actually be criticising the rules that were in place in the first place, not the parties, because it's the rules that were a problem, which I think is a very pertinent point.
Yes, indeed. Loads of people, yes, of course, also saying that Boris Johnson wants to remain as Prime Minister. Basically, he should sort out the Northern Ireland issue as well. It'd be interesting one, this. Do you think that Boris Johnson would win another general election? I was having a chat with quite a prominent political individual yesterday, actually, just in the office around the corner here, and, yeah, they are convinced that if Boris Johnson runs for election again, that he wouldn't win. But I just don't really see how Keir Starmer beats him.
It's interesting because David has got in touch to make a point relating to that. He says, Boris Johnson may have damaged his reputation over the so-called Partygate witch hunt, but I could never vote for Starmer or Rayner. Because I can't get the image of both of them on their knees paying homage to a Marxist organisation out of my head. So he's saying, well, look, OK, Boris isn't great, but, you know, neither is Keir Starmer or Angela Rayner.
No, absolutely not. That was quite a haunting image.
I was wondering where that was going about Angela Rayner getting on her knees.
Right, OK, good stuff. Yeah. Happy morning, everybody. Right, so up next, it's your headlines.
Thanks, Patrick. It's 10:32. I'm Rhiannon Jones in the GB newsroom. The Chancellor is set to announce a multi-billion-pound package of support to ease the cost of living crisis. The measures are expected to include a discount on energy bills, funded by a windfall tax on oil and gas companies. Labour, which has been calling for the move, says Rishi Sunak's finally being dragged kicking and screaming to a U-turn. The acting head of the Met Police, Sir Stephen House, could face further questions over the Partygate investigation. He's due to appear before the London Assembly's Police and Crime Committee. London Mayor Sadiq Khan wants to know why the Prime Minister was fined for just one event, despite being pictured drinking at another. There have been fresh calls for Boris Johnson's resignation, but former Conservative MP Michael Brown told GB News he thinks he'll survive.
Boris is still in danger, Eamon. He's first of all got to get through this Privileges Committee report. Did he deliberately lie? It's a very high threshold. I think he'll get away with that. What he's not going to get away with over the next 18 months, though, is if he doesn't nuke inflation.
The Texas gunman who killed 19 children and 2 teachers was reportedly inside the primary school for up to an hour. Armed with an assault rifle, the suspect, Salvador Ramos, locked himself in a grade 4 classroom and opened fire. The 18-year-old posted an online message just minutes earlier, warning he was going to attack. President Joe Biden says he'll visit Uvalde in the coming days to speak to the victims' families. And a British man with a debilitating condition has been given a new lease of life after a double hand transplant. 48-year-old Stephen Gallagher lost the use of his own hands because of an autoimmune disease called scleroderma, which causes scarring of the skin and internal organs. The father of 3 went ahead with the surgery despite being warned he could lose them altogether. He says his new hands are amazing. TV online and DAB+ radio, this is GB News.
Direct Bullion sponsors the Finance Report on GB News for gold and silver investment.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound is 1.249 to the dollar. It's 1.182 to the euro. And the price of gold currently stands at £1,469.92 per ounce.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV, on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
It's 10:36, and this is To The Point with me, Mercy Moroki, and Patrick Christie's on GB News. We're live on your TV, online radio, and on our GB News app.
Right, now, it was reported in the Mail yesterday that Chinese companies are already preparing monkeypox tests and vaccines as the rare infection sees outbreaks across the world.
Yes, well, around 80 people in the UK have already been confirmed to have caught the infection, which causes a rash across the body. Most people who catch it are expected to only have a mild disease and recover pretty quickly, although some might need specialised treatment in hospital.
Well, China, however, has not yet reported any infection, so what should we make of China pressing ahead with developing tests and vaccines for mass production?
Yes, well, Dr. Andrew Preston is a microbiologist at the University of Bath and joins us now. Good morning, thank you for your time this morning. So, Is it common? Many people might read these headlines and say, that's quite suspicious, isn't it, that they're already doing this? But is this something that would happen anyway?
It's not necessarily something that would happen anyway, but clearly on the back of COVID, it's something that I think we need to get into. It was quite clear that despite all of the pandemic preparedness planning that countries had done, they were largely ineffectual when COVID started to spread across the world. So if we want to be better prepared or better to deal with the next pandemic, and the last 20 years have clearly shown us there is going to be another one, then we need to start to scan the horizon for potential new viruses breaking into the human population. And as soon as we get the signal that something is happening, we need to start to go down the process of creating, prototype vaccines and tests and therapies so that we can roll them out, immediately. And we have to be prepared that maybe 99 times out of 100 is going to be a false alarm. For that 1 in 100, where it turns out to be the next pandemic, is going to be a lifesaver.
Sure, and I completely agree with that. We certainly weren't prepared enough for COVID, and so I do get that rationale. But I do want to question who is we. When you say, we need to get ahead of the curve, we need to prepare in advance. Because for me, I don't think China is necessarily a trustworthy player in all of this. Other people might disagree. But should we trust China to take over this sort of mass production of these vaccines when, let's be honest, they weren't very transparent and there hasn't been much accountability when it came to COVID?
But just because China's doing it doesn't stop anyone else from doing it. And unfortunately, the situation is that for mass production of the lateral flow tests and all the other tests that the world was reliant on for so long were largely from China. So, if we don't want to rely on China for things, then we have to change our production capabilities. And that was clearly something that was, hugely missing in terms of PPE and tests and many of the other components required to, during the pandemic. We've lost our manufacturing base for most things, including in public health. And certainly we were ill prepared in terms of our diagnostics. Vaccines, we were able, at the forefront from. So no, the we I was referring to is the global community. So WHO should be taking a lead on this. We've got several other organisations, because it's quite clear that surveillance and preparedness has to be on a global level, and trying to do it as an individual nation just simply doesn't work with the way the world is set up at the moment.
Yeah, now, obviously something that's turned out to be very, very lucrative for numerous pharmaceutical companies in relation to COVID, of course, was the vaccine, right? What's the crack when it comes to the monkeypox vaccine? Is it going to have to be adapted from the smallpox vaccine, as far as I understand it? Is that right?
At the moment, perhaps not. So the smallpox vaccine appears to have already high levels of efficacy against monkeypox. It has been used to ring-fence outbreaks in Africa before, seemingly very successfully, and that was in resource-limited settings. So, the reason or the details of the China starting to make its own vaccine may be because it doesn't want to be reliant on the relatively small number of manufacturers that are still in the business of making smallpox vaccine. Of course, that's had very limited use since the global eradication. It's been used largely as precautionary to have some stockpiles in events of outbreaks of related viruses, and this is one of those.
And very finally, Dr. Andrew, can you just tell us and our viewers and our listeners what they should be looking out for in terms of monkeypox? What are the symptoms? How is it transmitted?
Sure. Unfortunately, like most infectious diseases, it starts off with non-specific symptoms. So, those that we're all too familiar with in terms of feeling a bit coldy, achy, shivers. And then, of course, the real defining feature of this is then that progresses into a rash. Ordinarily starts off on maybe the face and the upper body and progresses. Perhaps with the method that it's being transmitted in some communities, it can start off in other regions. And really, for most people, it's a case of isolate, so that you're not passing it on to others. And in a vast majority of people, your natural immune system will take care of the infection over the course of a couple of weeks.
Stuff. All right, well, look, thank you very much. Dr. Andrew Preston there, of course, a microbiologist at the... excuse me. There you go, I can't get my words out. At the University of Bath. I just choked on my coffee. There we go. But anyway, there we are. Monkeypox, are you scared of it?
I think it looks horrible, and I'm I'm not as worried about it as COVID. I don't think there's reason to be at all from what we know at the moment, but I certainly don't want it, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I know. It is scary stuff, really, I suppose, in a way. But I don't know, let us know what you think, really. I mean, after the whole COVID pandemic and outbreak, I'm just a bit over. I'm a bit over viruses, you know. I'm just move on.
Yeah, I'm not too worried. I mean, there doesn't seem to be too much cause for concern at the moment, so I don't think there's any need for alarm.
No, absolutely. Well, look, yesterday was Wednesday, where, of course, every week we dedicate the whole show to what's on your mind and put your questions to our expert guests.
Yes, well, because the Sue Gray report broke during our show, we didn't manage to get to all of them, so we thought we'd address one of them today. We thought this one was particularly interesting. Mary got in touch to ask us to talk about the cost of living and how she thinks poorer people are being priced out of being able to enjoy good entertainment like everyone else.
Well, she said, I know this is a bit cheeky, as I'm writing to you to complain about being priced out of things like Discovery Plus, Netflix, Amazon and other television services.
Yes, well, Mary, I don't think it's cheeky, and that's because in the UK, working-class homes do watch 30% more TV than those from middle-class homes, according to research. So I think it's a fair question in terms of, you know, people needing to change their leisure habits, really. And it's one we can discuss now with consumer journalist Harry Wallop. Thank you, Harry, for joining us this morning. Things are getting more expensive generally, of course, and people do have to maybe cancel those subscriptions that they have previously been subscribed for. Is there a cheap way to get sort of television entertainment? Because TV is such a core part of family life in the UK.
Yes, I mean, we do know that one of the first things that families are doing in terms of trying to, you know, keep a cap on their spending is cutting back on subscriptions. We've had Netflix themselves admit that for the first time in its entire history, their growth has completely stalled. We've had some reports from Nationwide from their analysis of credit card spending, and people are cutting back on subscriptions, all sorts of subscriptions, not just TV subscriptions, gym subscriptions. And we think around about 500,000 households in the UK have cut one of these subscription services. But I think it's worth, you know, putting it into context. We are living in a golden age, and there are an awful lot of different services out there. And you need to ask yourself, do you need all of them for starters? And then do you need the premium package? Because most of these have quite complex pricing structures. So if we take Netflix, for example, it now starts at $6.99 a month. It was $5.99. So it's actually, in percentage terms, a very big increase. But it goes all the way up to $15.99, where you kind of get Ultra HD and the ability to watch on 4 different screens at once. So I think that's the first thing you need to do. Are you on the right package? Because do you really need to be on $15.99 a month? It's unlikely. Could you survive on the basic package? You get exactly the same content. You just can only watch it on one screen at once.
I've just found out I'm being ripped off by Netflix. So is not everyone on $15.99 a month?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because when I was asked this question, I've gone through my own direct debits, and I've got teenage children. I've got one at university, so we do have a family kind of Netflix package. And I think during, you know, pandemic, we splashed out because, you know, watching TV was one of the ways to get through, you know, the difficult times. And I'm thinking, do we really need to be on the most expensive package? I don't think we do. So that's one action I've taken.
I don't think I was given a choice. I turned Netflix on one day and there was a signal that came up that informed me that my subscription was just going up to $15.99.
I think mine's about £7 or something.
What?
£8, I don't know.
In a minute, there are various different levels. And it is also quite a new thing now, in a desperate attempt from Sky and from Virgin. If you're a satellite customer, you will, if you're a new customer, get Netflix as part of actually even the most basic bundle. So for whatever you do, make sure you're not paying for Netflix twice, because that would be, you know, a disastrous waste of money. And of course, one of the techniques you can do is just be incredibly disloyal. There's nothing to stop you signing up to all these services as a new customer and getting a free trial. So there's a particular film you really want to watch, or one particular box set you're prepared to binge in a week, sign up, you know, get a new email, especially for this thing. Nothing to stop you doing it as long as you remember to cancel, because of course you will have to put in your debit card details.
That's the trick, isn't it? They get you on. They get you on forgetting to cancel. Well, look, thank you so much for talking to us and answering Mary's question there. Harry Wallop there, who's a consumer journalist. Or you can do
crash bang to his mates.
Or you can do this. I mean, I'm not advising to do this. I'm saying this hypothetically is something that could be done. Just use a different email address every time to sign up as a new customer.
Gosh, wow, there you go.
That is one way to game the system, which I would never personally do, of course.
No, of course, and we couldn't probably recommend that.
No,
even if it would save you loads of money. Right, OK, now, let's take you through some of the headlines that you might have missed. So, The Handmaid's Tale author Margaret Atwood has created an unburnable edition of her best-selling novel in protest to a recent wave of book burnings across the United States.
Yes, well, The Handmaid's Tale is one of the most challenged or banned books in the US for being offensive to Christians, too sexually explicit, or too focused on the experiences of biological women and ignoring trans women. Those are some of the critiques that have been levelled against it. Well, printed and bound using fireproof materials, Penguin Random House Publishers called it a powerful symbol against censorship.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, presumably you can still put it in a wood chipper.
Yeah.
So that's that. So yes, it's not completely safe, is it? But a Taiwanese maths teacher has been uploading videos of his lessons onto a pornography website, Pornhub, in an attempt to broaden his reach.
Yeah, very controversial, this one. While the fully clothed and fully legitimate teacher, Chang Su, thought posting his calculus classes onto Pornhub would help him reach more of his students. And guess what? It actually has. He's amassed nearly 2 million views on his Play Hard, Study Hard page. The 34-year-old has taught for 15 years and even opened his own cram school. 15 years, he's only 34. But anyway,
that's
what an interesting
Oh, no. No.
What an interesting tactic.
Yes, well, I don't quite understand it, though, because, I mean, I just don't get why anyone who's on Pornhub would watch
but also, let's be honest, if it was titled Play Hard, Study Hard, 2 million people have accidentally clicked on it, thinking it was something else. They thought it was some role-play thing, didn't they, clearly?
Well,
and they've been very sadly disappointed when they've discovered it's calculus, literal calculus. That's what's happened there.
Yeah. Anyway, so obviously, yes, it was an interesting interesting tactic, isn't it, to try to... Yes, broaden his appeal, I suppose. Yes. Calculus lessons.
What I like is that one commentator apparently said they found the surrounding adverts for other Pornhub videos too distracting to actually focus on the calculus.
Focus on the lessons.
Yeah, can't he just upload them to YouTube or something?
Probably, yes, I would have thought so. But anyway, right, parenting expert Anna Williamson has revealed the best ways and times to talk to your kids about the birds and the bees.
Yes, apparently you should use the correct anatomical terms to describe their body, as your kids could be ridiculed in biology class for not knowing.
OK, and you should encourage curiosity as well as answering their questions in age-appropriate and simple terms that they can understand. So Anna says that we should open up the conversation and channels of communication, basically, even if it's a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
How old's your daughter again?
She's 7.
What are you thinking of?
Well, she kind of... I did actually recently tell her how babies are born.
Cool.
Yes.
And that went...
Well, she now doesn't want a baby, so I might have to convince her, because I do want grandchildren. Yeah, she knows. I mean, she learnt in school, in her lessons, what the terms are. I won't say them out loud. What the actual biological terms are for female and male anatomy.
Yeah.
So she knows that, but obviously the process of procreating, they probably don't teach them that yet. So no. I've let her know
You've just planted
in child-friendly terms.
For the best phrase, and then, we'll see.
No, I did that 8 years ago.
Right, good stuff. So, OK, so basically she advises being proactive, asking your teens, basically, if they're sexually active. Basically, so it's better for them to find out sooner rather than later. I mean, I was taught sex ed by a biology teacher called Dr. McDonald, who exclusively wore socks and sandals.
That sounds like a case for safeguarding.
Yeah. Oh, OK. Anyway, Premier League ace and England footballer Marcus Rashford proposed to his childhood sweetheart while on a romantic trip to Hollywood.
Yes, well, a source close to the couple said that over the moon, Marcus has been planning this for a while and wanted to make it special. They went out in LA for a romantic night together on Tuesday and he proposed. It was extremely romantic for our TV viewers. For our radio viewers, we're showing images at the moment of the proposal. It's Marcus Rashford and his fiancée now in a bed of roses, well, not a bed, but standing on a bed of roses and sort of a love heart rose behind them. Rashford and Lucia flew to the US after his United team was beaten 1-0 by Crystal Palace on the last day of the season.
Well, at least he scored once this season. No? Anyone? No? No? OK, fine. OK, all right. Anyway, now, the BBC was forced to apologise earlier this week to Manchester United fans after a message appeared on the BBC News channel saying Manchester United are rubbish. I mean, it's not fake news, is it, really?
Well, yeah, so somebody clearly uploaded a thing. I think they were testing it. United fans haven't suffered enough misery this season, so the BBC thought they would inflict some more. The insult popped up at the bottom of the screen during a tennis news update, but later on, a presenter did actually apologise to any United fans who may be offended. Are you a United fan?
I'm a United fan. I'm more offended by the catastrophic state of our performances so far this season. Ralph Rangnick, as far as I can tell, is absolutely on the take. I've never seen anyone as bad as managing Manchester United as this guy.
Well, I don't know much about football, but I'm more offended about how rubbish the BBC is, personally.
Yes,
There is that.
No, there is that. And I think, yes, we have managed to combine two of my great hates at the moment. Basically, how badly Manchester United are doing and the BBC. Anyway, make sure you keep all of your views coming in. GBViews at gbnews.uk. Should we do a couple of views? What have we got in there? Darren's been on. Thank you very much, Darren. Who's basically he's enjoying the show this morning. Good stuff, Darren. I guess we're trying to keep it a bit light, aren't we?
Yes, we are. We are. We've spoken about a few, perhaps not very child-friendly topics, to be honest.
No. Are we allowed to reveal that Mercy and I are going on a little bit of an away day, as it were, for the Jubilee? Are we allowed to say?
Well, you've already done it, so there's that.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're coming to a town near you next Thursday anyway. We'll keep the location under wraps, but it should be good.
Well,
sorry, I've just been told I absolutely can't tell you.
We'll decide. We'll decide. And the funny thing is, I'm teetotal, and you're very much not. So that should be interesting. James has a comment here about the pornography calculus story. He said, "Morning, guys. I think the Conservative MP caught watching porn missed a trick here. He could have said he was watching Play Hard, Study Hard."
That's true, actually.
Porn.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true, yes. He missed a trick there, to be fair, didn't he? But, yes, anyway, keep all your views coming in, GBViews at gbnews.uk. There's lots for us to get stuck into. Make sure you keep letting us know what you think about this Partygate, this Sue Gray report as well. A lot of people are thinking it's a bit of a damp squib, don't they? Some pictures have emerged now. Apparently there are about 500 pictures actually submitted to Sue Gray. Boris Johnson, allegedly anyway, was only in 9 of them. Those pictures, it seems, have been published. One of them is just him, it would appear with a can of Estrella at his desk, a bit of cake and some sandwiches. I mean, it's not the end of the world, is it, really, I don't think?
Yes, well, we'll be back in just a moment, but first, let's go to the weather.
Hello, a very good morning to you. I'm Aidan McGibbon. Mixed fortunes across the UK today. It will be breezy for all of us. There'll be rain in places, particularly central parts, but some brighter spells either side of that damp weather. The damp weather coming in from the Atlantic, a weather front stretching across Northern Ireland and then into southern Scotland, northern England and North Wales. That's where the dull and damp weather is first thing, but actually it's moving through, it's easing. So after a damp start for Northern Ireland, brighter skies with some showers follow. And for central and northern Scotland, a blustery day to come. Gales are on exposed northern and northwestern coasts and further showers. Northern England, North Wales keep the rain into the afternoon, but even here, after some heavy rain early on, it does tend to ease. And further south, just to the south of that front, it's breezy, but it's bright with some sunshine and it's a little warmer. 22 Celsius for London, whilst it's mid-teens north of the rain for Northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. Now, the cloud and rain through central areas sinks south and fizzles out overnight. Clearing skies then across much of England and Wales, and clear spells as well for Scotland and Northern Ireland, but it stays blustery in the north with further showers north of the central belt. Temperatures in the north, 8 or 9 Celsius, further south, 12 or 13 Celsius, particularly for those areas that are slow to clear the cloud. Parts of Cornwall could keep some cloud as we start off Friday. Otherwise, widespread sunny skies for England and Wales during Friday morning. Cloudier from, say, Cumbria northwards, and further showers north of the central belt once again, with that keen breeze coming in from the northwest. That's going to make it feel cool, but where we've got the sunshine further south, a warm afternoon to come, with temperatures reaching the high teens or low 20s. Plenty more fine weather to come this weekend as high pressure develops widely up and down the country. Sunny spells for most.
On GB News, we're celebrating the Queen's Platinum Jubilee with 4 days of special coverage between the 2nd and the 5th of June. Join us live up and down the country, sharing your memories from Her Majesty's extraordinary reign. Please send in your stories by emailing us at jubilee@gbnews.uk or tweet us at GBNews. We can't wait to hear what you have to say. GB News is the People's Channel.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV, on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Very good morning, everybody. This is To The Point on GB News. And me, Patrick Christie's, and Mercy Murky on your TV, radio and online, with you all the way through until midday with an action-packed show and, of course, loads of your views.
Yes, and get in touch with those views. gbviews@gbnews.uk is the email you need. We'll get to those throughout the show. But first, the latest headlines with Rhiannon.
Good morning, it's just gone 11 o'clock. Your top stories from the GB Newsroom. The Chancellor is set to announce a multi-billion-pound package of support to ease the cost of living crisis. The measures are expected to include a discount on energy bills, funded by a windfall tax on oil and gas companies. Labour, which has been calling for the move, says Rishi Sunak's finally being dragged kicking and screaming to make a U-turn. Energy giants are warning the tax could do long-term damage to the oil and gas industry. Residents in Bristol told us they're struggling with the rising bills.
Currently it's okay, but I feel like we are going to be pushed to our limits. With the new baby in the household, the wife has decided to stay at home, so we've only got the one income at the minute. So yeah, we're really looking at the way we use our facilities, our water, our electricity, our food shop and everything.
We're struggling to, I think my parents are thinking of downsizing house-wise when I'm off to university next year and they're like, we can't afford to live where we live because I think our energy bills and stuff have gone up threefold.
The Prime Minister's facing pressure to quit, with 2 more Conservative MPs saying they no longer support him following the Partygate inquiry. More than 15 have now called for his resignation since reports of lockdown breaches emerged. The acting head of the Met Police, Stephen House, could also face further questions over the force's investigation when he appears before the London Assembly's Police and Crime Committee later. London Mayor Sadiq Khan wants to know why the Prime Minister was fined for just one event, despite being pictured drinking at another. There have been fresh calls for Boris Johnson's resignation, but former Conservative MP Michael Brown told GB News he thinks he'll survive.
Boris is still in danger, Eamon. He's first of all got to get through this Privileges Committee report. Did he deliberately lie? It's a very high threshold. I think he'll get away with that. What he's not going to get away with over the next 18 months, though, is if he doesn't nuke inflation.
Well, Kieran Pedley from pollsters Ipsos says more than half of those surveyed believe Boris Johnson should resign.
This is damaging for Boris Johnson. This has been damaging for the Conservatives. Right now, we find that the Labour Party are 6 points ahead in the polls, and 55% of voters think that the Conservatives should change their leader before the next general election. And that's not all to do with Partygate, that's not all to do with Sue Gray, but this is a damaging story, and the more it's in the media, the worse that is for Boris Johnson.
The Texas gunman who killed 19 children and 2 teachers was reportedly inside the primary school for up to an hour. Armed with an assault rifle, the suspect, Salvador Ramos, locked himself in a grade 4 classroom and opened fire. The 18-year-old posted an online message just minutes earlier, warning he was going to attack. President Joe Biden says he'll visit Uvalde in the coming days to talk to the victims' families.
The idea that an 18-year-old can walk into a store and buy weapons of war designed and marketed to kill is, I think, just wrong. It just violates common sense.
A review into the deaths of Arthur Labinjo Hughes and Star Hobson is calling for dedicated child protection teams to be set up in every local area. It says social workers, healthcare staff and police should work together in a fundamental change to child protection. Chair of the panel, Annie Hudson, says accounts by abusive parents are too often taken at face value.
Frequently expressed concerns by different family members were not taken seriously and they were not followed up. The real harm that these children were suffering was not fully understood, and therefore that the right decisions, the important decisions, were not taken at the right time.
The first case of monkeypox has been identified in Wales, bringing the total number across the UK to 79. The case is being managed and the overall risk to the general public is low. That's according to the Public Health Wales. It's asking people to look out for symptoms including fever, muscle aches and exhaustion, along with a rash which starts on the face and then spreads. Ukraine says Russian forces have shelled more than 40 towns in the eastern Donbass region. Ukraine's armed forces are reporting that Russia's destroyed and damaged 47 civilian sites, including 38 homes and a school. Speaking in Bosnia, the Foreign Secretary Liz Truss said sanctions against Moscow should not be lifted.
In my view, it is completely appalling that Putin is trying to hold the world to ransom, and he's essentially weaponising hunger and lack of food amongst the poorest people around the world. We simply cannot allow this to happen. Putin needs to remove the blockade on Ukrainian grain.
And a British man with a debilitating condition has had a life-changing double hand transplant. 48-year-old Stephen Gallagher lost the use of his own hands because of an autoimmune disease called scleroderma, which causes scarring of the skin and internal organs. The father of 3 went ahead with the surgery despite being warned he could lose them altogether. He says his new hands are amazing. This is GB News. We'll bring you more as it happens. Now, though, it's back to Patrick and Mercy with To The Point.
Good morning. This is To The Point on GB News with me, Mercy Moroki, and Patrick Christie's. It's 11:07 and here's what's on today's show.
Yes, well, the gunman responsible for a deadly elementary school shooting in Texas sent messages about the attack just minutes before it happened and was apparently in the school for over 40 minutes before he was shot down by police. We'll be diving into this sickening psychology of all of this stuff with Dr. Pam Spur very shortly.
Yes, and back here at her, Chancellor is expected to announce a multi-billion-pound package to help people with the cost of living, and it looks like we could finally see that controversial windfall tax on energy companies. We'll, of course, bring you what we know before any announcement with Tom Harwood and keep an eye on what you can expect.
Absolutely, yes, and today is the National Cat Awards. Yes, roll out the red carpet, get the milk on ice and rack up the catnip. And we'll be celebrating some fantastic felines who are being officially recognised for helping people in their communities. Helping people. So can I just say, just to clarify, because I had a chat with my producer about this yesterday, this isn't just like, oh, what a lovely cat. This is like the job that cats have done for humans, OK, and that's how they win an award.
Yeah, that's sweet, isn't it?
Well, it is sweet, yeah, but I mean, cats don't really care about people. But anyway, right, we'll find out.
Cats are great. Well, that's just a taste of what we have in the next 50-ish minutes, and we have much, much more as well across the programme, not least your views, so get them in at GBViews at gbnews.uk.
Time to rack up the catnip. Yeah, well, the gunman responsible for a deadly school shooting in Texas sent messages about the attack just minutes before it happened. So Texas State Governor Greg Abbott said gunman Salvador Ramos promised to shoot his grandmother and then, quote, shoot up a school.
Yes, well, meanwhile, reports have emerged that frustrated onlookers urged police to charge into the school to stop the attack, but that they did not do so, while Texas officials say Ramos was there for about 40 minutes before he was killed.
Yeah, well, what does it take for someone to act in this way, really, as, of course, this depraved gunman did? Well, joining us now to discuss the devastating shooting, the psychology of mass shooters, really, is Dr. Pam Spur, friend of the channel, friend in general, actually. Dr. Pam, how are you?
I'm very well. I'm sorry to join you, though, talking about such a disturbing topic.
No, look, of course. And look, you got in touch with us yesterday, and rightly so, and we're glad that you did, because I think you can explain something to our viewers and listeners, and to me as well, frankly. What is the psychology of a mass shooter?
Well, I think the first thing people wonder about, are these people suffering a severe mental illness? And actually, when you look at the research, the differences between a serial killer and a mass shooter can be distinguished in this way, because serial killers like Peter Sutcliffe, who was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, often get these serious psychiatric diagnoses. But mass shooters are more likely to have what now is talked about as PED, or persistent emotional disturbance. That means they have persistent traumas in their lives, there's chaos, they fall out with people, they lose jobs, and this kind of underlies a number of other factors going on that create a pattern in mass shooters.
I do have to ask, though, you know, we're told we're more aware of mental health, aren't we, just generally as a society, well, in the West anyway, and the prevalence of mental illnesses seems to be getting higher and higher, and yet these individuals, luckily, thank God, are very rare. So what is it specifically that tips these kids, essentially, he was only 18, what would tip him into doing something so unthinkable to the overwhelming majority of people?
Well, the other factors include things like early trauma. So most mass shooters have maybe been abandoned by parents, they've been abused, they might have been sexually abused. This leads to that PED, that persistent emotional disturbance, where they always have problems. These problems then isolate them from having good relationships. They don't really know how to have good relationships. And they say, like with Salvador Ramos, this evil mass shooter in Texas, he didn't have any friends. And that is classic with these mass shooters. Another factor is often they find it hard to keep a job, or they've recently lost a job. They have a propensity to watch violent content, so it may be violent films, violent video games. They also tend to research other mass shooters. So they're fascinated by this sort of power and control they think other mass shooters have. A number of mass shooters also have what is called sort of narcissistic grievances, whereas most of us, if we fall out with a friend or lose a job, we can at least partly look at our own behavior and say, well, I kind of deserved that. I wasn't the best employee. Whereas a mass shooter often has this narcissistic grievance where they think they've not been given the special treatment they deserve. They think they've been treated very badly. So that's why often you see these mass shootings happen after someone has lost a job, because they cannot, it pierces their narcissistic self-belief.
Yeah.
So and you have the suicidal tendency. So many of them have suicidal tendencies, have threatened suicide, and so they don't have the fear of being shot by the police.
Well, this is it, isn't it? I mean, kill by cop is a thing in America, absolutely. And I'm just wondering, though, Dr. Pam, I mean, there was loads that you got stuck into there. We really do appreciate this, actually. It's really insightful stuff. But actually killing kids, right? Elementary school children, primary school children, I suppose you would call them over here. You know, is this something to do with the fact that maybe they were very angry with their own childhood and they just wanted to deprive anyone else of a good one, I suppose?
Well, that may be part of it with some mass shooters. Partly is often that they've felt bullied at school, so they'll harbor grievances about their school days. And of course, this sounds horrible, but it's easy targets when you choose young targets, because they are less likely to know how to evade such a horrendous situation, how to get away. And it's almost like they're looking for the glory in the number of people they can kill. So it's really hard for the rest of us who don't have all these factors playing in our sort of mental state to really understand what's going on with these mass shooters.
Dr. Pam, well, look, thank you very, very much. It's been great to have you on the show and indeed to talk about what is obviously a very, very depressing issue. Of course it is, but it's interesting to kind of get a flavour of what's going on behind the scenes or behind the eyes, I suppose you could say. And it does seem, though, like every single week we're confronted by some kind of mass shooting in America.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke to Will Geddes, didn't we, a couple of days ago. He's a security expert, and he said, I mean, I can't remember the exact figure, but there's a shooting every week or something.
Yeah, well, there is. He said I think he said there's been 27 so far this year.
Which is actually more than a week, isn't it? One on average.
Well, I just find it absolutely bonkers, really. But it's the ease with which they're able to get hold of these weapons and then, of course, the ability to use them. You know, I find interesting, this is completely anecdotal, there's no evidence for this, but I think you could make guns legal in the UK and you wouldn't get anything like the level of mass shootings that you get in America. It just seems different over there, mate.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, thank God we would never do that. But I think the people who want to acquire guns will always acquire them somehow, obviously illegally in this country. The thing with America is the kind of argument they use about why kids carry knives. They say kids who carry knives carry so because of self-defence. So they're carrying knives because everybody else has a knife.
Isn't it?
That is, and there is some truth to that, I think. And that's, I think, the same thing with guns. People feel like they need guns in America because everybody else has guns. Will Geddes said something like 400 million guns or something. So if everybody else has guns and you're worried that somebody might attack you with a gun at any point, then of course you're going to arm yourself. So it's hard to get rid of them for that reason.
No, I get that. And also there was a big thing, wasn't there, about when I think it was Sandy Hook happened, which was obviously one of the worst mass shootings of children ever, I suppose, really. And the line after that was, well, should we arm the teachers?
Yeah.
And that's what they said. They said, you know, not should we remove guns from the streets? I mean, you can't do it now. There's too many of them there anyway. There'd be a huge black market in it. There probably already is. But yes, the line was, should we arm the teachers?
Yeah, which is terrifying.
Which is terrifying, isn't it?
So
to think that that's where they are, really. But
well, look, thank God we're not in that position ourselves. And even though we have a knife crime issue, it's not as prevalent. Oh, did you?
I was in Washington. And I was outside the hotel having a cigarette. And, I just turned around and the police just shot someone. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I'd be traumatised.
Obviously a criminal. Well, I hope a criminal.
I've never even seen a gun. Oh, I have actually seen a gun when I went to Canada and they carry them there, the police. But I would be traumatised at stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, it's all a bit weird. But
On to something lighter now. We're going to go to a couple of your views. I found these ones particularly funny. We were speaking earlier about a teacher, what was it, in Japan or something, or China?
Yes, China,
who is a calculus teacher, maths teacher, and he's basically uploaded his lesson for students to watch, but he thought actually they might not watch it if he uploads it onto, I don't know, YouTube or something, or Vimeo. Instead, he decided to upload it to Pornhub because he thought, well, they'll definitely go on Pornhub, so I'm going to put the content there. Well, Daniel, very interesting spelling of that name, never seen that, says, hi, Mercy and Patrick, love the show. Just thinking, did the Pornhub calculus contain any lessons on how to multiply?
Oh, there we go.
I like that
Comment of the day. Well done, well done. Yes, he's here all week, absolutely. But,
yes, and Charles, we're going to be talking about cats later. Chaz thinks cats are only loyal to themselves.
Yeah, well, so Charles has said that, OK, but I've been told off on Twitter, OK, so where's the name on this one? Can't see the name on it, but basically, oh, there we go, Lyndon has been on. She says cats do actually care about people. Cause I kind
Absolutely.
Of they don't, but...
they do, they're independent. That's what they are, and they're very emotionless as well. Like, their faces look really emotionless. Sometimes...
Soulless.
Like, sometimes I look at my puppy and she's just... You can tell she's just you know...
happy.
Just happy.
Pleased
She's
to see you.
enthusiastic. I look at my cat and he's there, like, the whole time.
No, honestly, I had a cat called Norma, and we went to the Wood Green Animal Rescue Centre. So we went to get her, and they absolutely mugged me off, right? So basically, there were 5 cats, quite a small rescue centre, 5 cats, all of which were completely normal cats.
Right.
And then we get right to the end, right, and there's Norma, who's just like scratty little thing, and then they go like, oh, you know, well, just go on, you know, she's not really a very popular cat here. Anyway, so I walk into the cage, I suppose you'd say, and she comes straight up to me, and then the lady goes, oh, she's chosen you. She's chosen you. That cat, honestly, spent its entire life just hiding in the wardrobe, hissing at me and scratching me in the face.
But what my question is, what did you do to that poor cat?
Well, no, it's what... Well, I tried to love it. I tried to love it. Yes.
Something tells me you have an innate cat hate.
Well, no, I wasn't. No, it wasn't anything bad. But I just, all it did was, just in the middle of the night as well. Sometimes I'll wake up and it'd be here.
Maybe it was traumatised or something
I
because that doesn't sound normal. But my cat's lovely.
I think it was.
Maybe it was drawn by your aura, your chaotic aura.
Well, that's it. I do a kind of bathe in catnip, so I imagine that helps. But anyway, right, OK, we're going to talk to Tom Harwood very, very shortly. We're going to be discussing the new potential windfall tax, which could help lower our energy bills. So Rishi Sunak is expected to make a statement later on today. But before that, let's have a look at this morning's headlines.
Hello, Alex Deacon here with your latest weather update. 3-way split today. Sunshine and showers for Scotland and Northern Ireland, a dull and damp zone in central areas, and then largely dry and bright in the south, thanks to an area of high pressure. Low pressure is dominating further north, and it's in these central areas where we've got the dull, damp weather from these weather fronts, bringing cloud and rain for much of the afternoon over parts of northern England, north and mid Wales, and into the Midlands at times. The far north of England may brighten up. Some fine weather for Northern Ireland, not too many showers here. Sunny spells across Scotland, but also quite a few showers drifting in at times on a brisk wind. Breezy in the far south, but mostly dry and bright at times here. Some sunny spells, particularly in the southeast, could see highs of 21 or 22. It feels a lot cooler than that, though, with the cloud and rain over northern England. That will sink away this evening. Bit of rain for a time over the Midlands, South Wales, and staying quite dank and misty overnight in southwest England. We'll keep some showers going in northern and western Scotland, but otherwise a dry night and with clear skies, turning quite chilly, especially in this central zone, parts of the Midlands, East Wales, well down into single figures, certainly rural areas, not too far off freezing actually to start Friday, but for most, Friday's going to be a fine, bright day, starting cloudy over the Channel Isles. There will still be showers coming in across Scotland, mostly over the north, not too many through the central belt, and the showers also mostly in the morning, tending to ease off by the afternoon. Sunny spells then for quite a few of us during Friday. Temperatures mid to high teens, but quite warm in the south with light winds over the Midlands, South Wales and southern England, widely over 20 degrees Celsius. A fine Friday evening to come as well. Any showers across northern Scotland continuing to fizzle away. That'll lead into, by and large, a fine start to the weekend. Saturday, dry and bright with sunny spells for most, turning cloudier and quite a bit cooler for most of us, though, by Sunday. Goodbye.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV,
on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
we're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
Hello, I'm Patrick Christie's.
And I'm Mercy Moroki.
Make sure that you join us Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. until midday, right here on GB News for To The Point.
We're not afraid to talk about the topics that matter to you or the big topics that always matter.
We cover absolutely everything, from the breaking political stories of the day to law and order, what's going on in the channel. We're not afraid to hold people to account.
We always make sure we include your views on our show.
Indeed, if you're thinking it, you can guarantee that we're saying it. So make sure you join the conversation with us, 10 a.m. until midday, Monday to Thursday, for To The Point on GB News.
Good morning, it's 11:25 and this is To The Point with me, Mercy Moroki, and Patrick Christie's on GB News. We're live on your TV, online and radio this morning.
We certainly are. Now, Chancellor Rishi Sunak is set to announce a multi-billion-pound support package to help support families as the cost of living crisis soars. So energy prices, of course, are set to rise yet again this autumn, and the Chancellor will add additional measures, likely funded by a windfall tax on oil and gas companies to ease the pressure on household finances.
Yes, but what could this mean for you at home? Well, Tom Harwood, our political correspondent, is in Downing Street for us this morning. He did get there very quick. Tom, what are we expecting to be announced? And is it not right that the Chancellor, just a few weeks ago, was against the windfall tax?
Yes, this may well be a bit of an embarrassing moment for the government, although I suppose their argument would be times are changing rapidly and they need to keep up with those times. However, the government's initial argument when it came to helping people with energy bills is that the bills are not going to rise until the autumn. We know that the energy price cap is reassessed every 6 months, and so the next time that prices may well rise for consumers is many months away. And the government, up until now, was arguing that therefore the best time to deliver any help would be as close to that price rise as possible so that they could respond in kind, knowing the economy as it may have changed by that point. However, now it seems like the pressure has got that much that we're about to hear today some pretty seismic interventions, maybe tens of billions of pounds of taxpayers' money being moved around and to help people, particularly the lowest paid people, with their energy bills. Some of the rumours that we have been hearing to do with this announcement that we're expecting in just 1 hour's time range from giving people direct cash payments to stopping the sort of half loan system that was announced a few months ago, people may remember, whereby people would be given £200 that they'd pay back in £50 instalments in future years. That may well become a grant today and may well be increased as well. So potentially hundreds of pounds flowing into the pockets of those on the lowest incomes. And how is it going to be funded? Well, we're not sure exactly the mechanism, but potentially part of it will be increased, maybe one-off taxation on energy companies. Now, the Labour Party will be crowing if that happens, because that's similar to what the Labour Party has been calling for quite some time now. One version or other of a windfall tax.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people are saying it's very unconservative, Tom, aren't they? This is not in the nature, in the DNA of traditional conservative ideology. And I think a lot of other people are concerned that we may end up paying this back in some way one day, but presumably not if it's a windfall tax.
Well, the issue that had been raised up until today, mainly by Conservative ministers, of course, with a windfall tax, is that that money comes out of companies that we're expecting to do a hell of a lot of investment towards getting us to net zero. And if those companies don't make the kind of profits that they're expected to, well, then they're not going to be able to invest in our energy transition. And it may well be that ordinary people end up having to pay more for that energy transition as we move away from fossil fuels and move towards renewable energy. It may well be that ordinary people end up bearing a bigger brunt of that transition than was the plan. That's if these energy companies are whacked with this tax. But more specifically, the almost arbitrary nature of a windfall tax is one that is particularly dangerous for investment, because it means that any company might think twice about investing in the UK, knowing that if they do too well, there isn't just an ordinary set of rules to play by. Politicians may well just grab some money from them at an arbitrary point in time. That's the worry about the environment that a windfall tax creates. The idea that looking forward into the future, if I were to choose a country to do business in, would I want to choose the country that had stable, reliable, predictable rules, or would I want to choose a country that had politicians who would make cash grabs at my companies at various times, depending on what was politically expedient? That's the genuine concern that people bring up about windfall taxes. And yet, it seems like the political pressure has risen to the level whereby we may be seeing some form of windfall tax. No doubt there will be some Treasury spin attached to it to suggest that this is a different sort of windfall tax to the one that the Labour Party was proposing. And of course, the Labour Party's tax was going to raise around £2 billion, we were hearing. Well, the Tory party is about to spend maybe upwards of £10 billion. Where on earth are they going to get all of that money from? Well, there may well be more debt, there may well be a slightly harsher tax, or some other mechanism that we have not yet seen. We'll listen to it, of course, all from 12:30.
Tom, thank you for bringing us that update. We will, of course, be bringing everything the Chancellor says today to our viewers and listeners as it happens. Thank you, Tom.
Yes, indeed.
Now, we're getting a lot of views in about cats. Cats seem to have divided the nation. Some of you saying cats are selfish. So I have a cat called Oreo. He's black and white. This is Lynn. She says, but I heard somewhere that if the cat was bigger, it would eat you. After all I have done for it, fed it, cleaned out his smelly litter tray, stroked it and gave it love. And to think it would eat me if it were bigger.
After all I have?
Huh?
What? Yeah, no, also someone sent in a picture of a cat in a bag, which we would not recommend doing to
Yeah, but I think it should be said, it's the cat got into that bag voluntarily. It's just relaxing in the
know
bag.
That. We don't know
It's
that.
relaxing in the bag.
There's no way of knowing that. Gillian, you know, we don't know what you're up to, Gillian. OK? But,
right.
yeah.
Alejandra says, morning, you two. Just to say that cats are Jezebels trapped in a four-legged, soulless creature. Terrifying.
Sorry, that's really done me. Cats are Jezebels. Yeah, well, look, I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't really like... It's a hard one, that. Norma, bless her. She played fetch every now and again, but, yeah, she was kind of...
Fetch?
Yeah, she was
quite
a cat
impressive.
that played fetch, right?
Quite impressive.
But she was demanding and basically almost entirely nocturnal. So you'd wake up sometimes just slap like this. Anyway, I split up with my ex and I ended up just giving her back to her in a car park in Birmingham, which I think is what she deserved.
OK, anyway, Steve says, I have a great way to keep cats from your garden. Hang a West Ham shirt on your washing line.
That's good.
That's good. I did have to ask the boys here, what does that mean? And then I was reminded that, you know, Kurt Zuma, the cat kicker.
Yeah, the cat kicker.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Sounds
Well, there
like
we go.
an evil villain.
You may be wondering why on earth we're talking about cats at this particular time in the morning on a national news channel. Well, I'll tell you, because it's the National Cat Awards. That's right. So this isn't for you know, cats who are cute.
Yeah.
This is for cats who've achieved outstanding service to humanity, and I think that's really important that we make you aware of that. OK, so coming up after the break, it is also National Epilepsy Week as well. So we're raising awareness for the 500,000 people, 500,000 people in the UK who have been diagnosed with the disorder. We'll be speaking to a charity who've changed the lives of children by drug-resistant epilepsy medication. But anyway, there we go. First is your weather.
Or the news, Patrick. It's 11:33. I'm Rhiannon Jones in the GB newsroom. The Chancellor is set to announce a multi-billion-pound package of support to ease the cost of living crisis. The measures are expected to include a discount on energy bills funded by a windfall tax on oil and gas companies. Labour, which has been calling for the move, says Rishi Sunak's finally being dragged, kicking and screaming, to make a U-turn.
Currently it's OK, but I feel like we are going to be pushed to our limits. With a new baby in the household, the wife has decided to stay at home, so we've only got the one income at the minute. So yeah, we're really looking at the way we use our facilities, our water, our electricity, our food shop and everything.
We're struggling to, I mean, I think my parents are thinking of downsizing house-wise when like I'm off to university next year and they're like, we can't afford to live where we live because I think our like energy bills and stuff have gone up like threefold.
Two more Conservative MPs say they no longer support the Prime Minister following the Partygate inquiry. More than 15 are now calling for Boris Johnson's resignation. The acting head of the Met Police, Sir Stephen House, could also face further questions over the Force's investigation. He's due to appear before the London Assembly's Police and Crime Committee this afternoon. Despite fresh calls for Boris Johnson to quit, former Tory MP Michael Brown told GB News he thinks he'll survive.
Boris is still in danger, Eamon. He's first of all got to get through this Privileges Committee report. Did he deliberately lie? It's a very high threshold. I think he'll get away with that. What he's not going to get away with over the next 18 months, though, is if he doesn't nuke inflation.
The Texas gunman who killed 19 children and 2 teachers was reportedly inside the primary school for up to an hour. Armed with an assault rifle, the suspect, Salvador Ramos, locked himself in a grade 4 classroom and opened fire. The 18-year-old posted an online message just minutes earlier warning he was going to attack. President Joe Biden says he'll visit Uvalde in the coming days to speak to the victims' families. And a British man with a debilitating condition has been given a new lease of life after a double hand transplant. 48-year-old Stephen Gallagher lost the use of his own hands because of an autoimmune disease called scleroderma, which causes scarring of the skin and internal organs. The father of 3 went ahead with the surgery despite being warned he could lose them altogether. He says his new hands are amazing. TV online and DAB+ radio, this is GB News.
Direct Bullion sponsors the Finance Report on GB News for gold and silver investment.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound is 1.261 to the dollar. It's 1.176 to the euro. And the price of gold currently stands at £1,465.40 per ounce.
Direct Bullion sponsors the Finance Report on GB News for physical investment.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV, on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere. We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you. And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Good morning, it's 11:38 and this is To The Point with me, Mercy Muroki, and Patrick Christie's on GB News. We're live on your TV, online, on radio and on our GB News app.
Yes, indeed. Right, OK, well, it's National Epilepsy Week, so it's raising awareness for the 500,000 people in the UK who have been diagnosed with the disorder. Lots of people, that, isn't it? I didn't realise that.
Well, our Yorkshire reporter, Anne Riley, spoke to a student in Leeds about the challenges of living and studying with epilepsy. Let's take a look.
These are the tablets that Theo Wilson takes twice a day to try to prevent him from having an epileptic seizure. The 20-year-old student was first diagnosed with epilepsy 4 years ago after having a seizure whilst on a family holiday to Florida. He's been managing his condition ever since.
I was at a swamp in Florida, kind of sightseeing for crocodiles with my brother, and I was just sitting on this bench, and then I don't remember a thing, but apparently I just kind of collapsed to the floor. My muscles started tensing, I started convulsing, not really breathing right. My face turned blue, and yeah, it was only then when my dad saw that happening, and it was surprising. It was a good thing that he actually recorded me, and then we showed it to the doctors in America, and they said, yeah, that's definitely epilepsy.
As well as taking medication, Theo drinks lots of water, has a balanced diet, and tries to get plenty of sleep to help reduce the number of seizures.
It's very weird. It's like just kind of reality kind of fades away almost, and it's just you're seeing all these blurry vision and blurry lights, and yeah, it's quite frightening experience really at times. I really just want to go a year without having a seizure so I can start to learn how to drive. But yeah, it's just taking it a day at a time, not being risky with my illness and just kind of playing it safe, really.
The number of patients with neurological conditions forced to wait more than a year for help increased by more than 5,000% due to NHS backlogs during the pandemic. Nicholas Swanborough from the Epilepsy Society says the charity is still supporting people now who are waiting to be diagnosed.
You know that people are having to wait a long time in between health appointments. And we've heard from quite a few people who've said that they haven't even had a proper diagnosis. They've been having seizures and they haven't been properly diagnosed. That hasn't gone through. So they haven't been getting the help that they need. They haven't been getting the treatments they need. So our helpline has been very important there, to have somewhere that people can phone up and they can be pointed in the right direction of information and given the emotional support. Because I think that people feel quite isolated with epilepsy. You often don't know anybody else who's got the condition and who is going through the same things as you. And even if you do know somebody else with epilepsy, your epilepsy may not look like somebody else's.
Theo also hopes to raise awareness of epilepsy and is currently studying sports business management at Leeds Beckett University with the hope of becoming a football agent. Anna Riley, GB News, Headingley.
And for anyone living with epilepsy or anyone who wants to find out more about how to support somebody with the condition, the Epilepsy Society can be contacted on... Should I read that number out? Are we putting that number up? 01494 601 400. That's the number for the Epilepsy Society, which are a charity who help people supporting people with epilepsy as well. Elizabeth has got in touch saying, thank you for covering this. That's the number, 01494 601 400. That's the Epilepsy Society. Elizabeth has got in touch saying, thank you for covering this as it gets virtually no coverage whatsoever. I have lived with it for years without proper control. Well, you're very welcome, Elizabeth, and thanks, Anna, to our reporter, Anna, for that report as well. And it's really important we spread awareness about the challenges of living and studying with epilepsy. You didn't know that many people had it. And we're pleased to be joined by Sarah Garland, who's founder and CEO of the Daisy Garland charity, which was sadly set up 6 weeks after her daughter sadly passed away, her daughter Daisy, from the condition, from epilepsy. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Just give us some idea about what your charity does.
OK, good morning. The Daisy Garland charity, we set the charity up in memory of our daughter Daisy, who died in her sleep of epilepsy. Daisy was 6 when she died in her sleep. She was our only daughter at the time, and we just thought that we wanted to do something to give other families the support that we didn't have when we had Daisy. Epilepsy is a completely devastating condition. When Daisy died, the bottom fell out of our world. Daisy had drug-resistant epilepsy, and there are over 18,000 children in the UK who have drug-resistant epilepsy, and this is where the epilepsy can't be controlled by medication. We set the charity up to offer the support, as I say, that we didn't have when Daisy was with us, and we support families with the something called the ketogenic diet. It's a medical-led food-based treatment to control epilepsy when medication can't control the epilepsy. The Daisy Garland have brought the ketogenic diet to the forefront in the UK. We funded 28 ketogenic dietitians. All of them work within the NHS in the UK, treating children free of charge with this amazingly clever diet. The diet basically tips the metabolism upside down. So it's a low carb diet, a high fat diet. The body burns fat for energy instead of carbohydrate for energy, and in that process seizures can be controlled. We don't exactly know how the diet works, but for an awful lot of children it does work, and it's an amazing diet. I think half the children on the ketogenic diet see 50% improvement in seizures. A third see more than 90% improvement, and 10 to 15% of children on the diet become seizure-free. Now, we're talking about children where medication cannot help their seizures. So we cannot praise the ketogenic diet enough. We also, as a charity, fund nighttime monitors for children. So monitors, epilepsy monitors, to keep children safe at night while they sleep. Our daughter Daisy died in her sleep. So these monitors are incredibly important.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. And I do have to say, I did look at pictures of your daughter, Daisy, and she's absolutely beautiful. And the work your charity is doing is incredible. If people want to make donations to your charity, how can they do so?
They can go online, www.thedaisygarlands.org.uk. They can make a donation online.
Great.
Good. Well, just would like to say quickly, actually, obviously, that must have been probably the most horrific experience of your entire life, and yet, out of something so horrendous, what you've chosen to do with this is make sure that lives are saved. And I think, hats off to you, really, and well done. And obviously, we wish you all the best, and thank you very much for coming on the show and for saving so many lives.
you.
All right, take care. There's Sarah Garland there. Fabulous to see you.
That's made me quite emotional, actually.
Oh, your daughter's 7, isn't she? Sorry,
that's the thing. No, things like that do always get me because I just can't imagine, what that would be like. But please do donate to that charity. They are doing incredible work. Yeah. But for now, preparations for the biggest military flight display since the RAF centenary are underway this week, involving dozens of planes and helicopters.
So they'll fly over Buckingham Palace for the Queen's birthday parade flypast. In 1 week's time, as part of the Platinum Jubilee, our royal reporter Cameron Walker got a rare insight into the military's preparations.
An annual tradition requiring military precision. The Queen's birthday parade flypast over Buckingham Palace will showcase the best of British airmanship. A dramatic start to the rehearsal when RAF Cranwell was evacuated due to a fire alarm. Future officer cadets mustered outside. But a slight glitch didn't stop a smooth glide, as Air Commodore Mike Borkwill points out.
From my perspective, the rehearsal today went superbly. Really pleased, very good timing, good formation, and with the weather decisions we had to make, really pleased overall. So we're looking good for next week.
Around 70 aircraft from the Royal Air Force, Royal Navy and British Army will be taking part. That's the largest number since the RAF's centenary in 2018. The iconic College Hall at RAF Cranwell doubled up as Buckingham Palace for the rehearsal. Perhaps a fitting stand-in, considering Princes Charles, William and Edward all trained there. Helicopters will lead the formation. They're the slowest aircraft. As the fastest, the famous Red Arrows are the flying finale. Aircrew tell GBNews what it means to fly on such a unique occasion.
It's an absolute privilege, definitely a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and something I don't think we'll ever see again, so big honour for me to be selected to be part of the crew for this.
It's probably one of the best jobs in the Army, I'd say. Get to fly on a regular basis, daily basis.
Everyone was keen to be part of the fly past.
Wings in the air will follow boots on the ground. The 1st Battalion of the Irish Guards will troop their colour on Thursday the 2nd of June to mark the official birthday of Her Majesty the Queen. More than 1,200 officers and soldiers from the Household Division will put on a display of military pageantry on Horse Guards Parade, together with 240 horses and hundreds of army musicians. A royal gun salute will also fire. The Queen has decided only working members of the royal family and their children will appear on the balcony to watch the planes fly over. This means no Harry and Meghan and no Prince Andrew. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex still plan to come to London, however, to celebrate the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. With several official events planned to celebrate Her Majesty's 70 years of service, perhaps palace aides are working hard behind the scenes to make sure nothing becomes an unwanted distraction. Cameron Walker, GB News, Lincolnshire.
Right, OK, well, now it's the moment that you've all been waiting for. Yes, that's right. It's the National Cat Awards, and they're taking place later this summer. Yeah, so set up by Cat Protection to recognise the bond between owners and their whiskered companions.
Yes, well, this year's competition has 4 categories, which are cat colleagues, cat colleagues, forever friends, most caring and outstanding
most caring rescue cat.
Yeah, don't laugh.
How do you judge that? No, this cat,
maybe they keep you company.
Really cares.
Let's talk to Zahir White, who's National Media Officer for Cats Protection and one of the National Cat Awards organising team. Thanks for coming on. Look, I have to tell you, we've been talking about Partygate, we've been talking about gun control, cost of living today, and the thing we've had most emails about is cats. Yeah. And it's quite divisive. Some people are saying cats don't care about people. Somebody emailed in saying they live in a one-bedroom flat with 8 cats. So cats are a divisive thing, aren't they?
The window is your future.
Well, OK, let's put some numbers around this. There are 10.8 million pet cats in the UK right now. That's up from 600,000 from last year. And the National Cat Awards, we have seen that there are so many fantastic examples of how cats have made a positive difference to their owners' lives. So in the National Cat Awards, we've had cats that have averted house fires, we've had cats that have foiled burglaries, and we have cats that have been remarkable companions to people who have breast cancer, epilepsy, kidney dialysis. I mean, right now we're seeing a cat called Marley, who is at the Appledrum Centre in Chichester in West Sussex. And Marley is actually helping these people with learning disabilities. He stays with them for all their activities like arts and crafts and their painting. He really helps to calm the residents. In fact, he's so popular that he now attends the staff meetings at the centre. That's the esteem in which he's held in. And he's one of our National Cat Awards finalists for this year. Very, very pleased to have him involved with the awards. And yes, he's one of the ones that is in the running to be the National Cat of the Year. And you can see there he's just keeping people company as they're doing their gardening. To the left is his owner Richard, who does a fantastic job caring for him. And it's cats like that we really want to recognise. I think that's one that you can see right there. There's another cat, I think, as well, it's probably worth mentioning, that sort of sticks in my mind, called Archie. So Archie's owner has dialysis 5 days a week, 7 hours a day, hooked up to a machine. And Archie sits with her all day, keeps her company. Here we go, there she is. And when she's finished her dialysis, as you can see, Archie stays with her, sits on her lap. It's really important because this shows how cats can be such a good companion for people who might feel lonely, who might feel isolated. And interestingly, we saw that the cat population jumped by 600,000 this year compared to last year for reasons that were related to the pandemic. So people working from home more, people who felt lonely, they got a cat for companionship. And I think that's what the National Cat Awards is about. It's about celebrating their stories and really rewarding sort of the UK's most outstanding pet cats.
Oh, this is honestly, this is really, really heartwarming stuff.
Yeah, Patrick's been mocking cats for the last hour.
I was only
And by the way, if I do end up as a cat lady when I'm older, I'll be perfectly content and happy.
Perfectly content, yeah. Okay, fine, yeah. Good stuff. This doesn't just happen. Anyway, right, so the awards are actually at the Savoy Hotel, is that right?
Yes, that's right. We're holding them on August the 4th at the Savoy. We get private sponsorship for the awards, so a big thank you to our sponsors for that, because that really helps us to put in the day.
But the big question is, will the cats be in attendance?
This is the deal, right? Can I attend?
To take those in turn, no, the cats won't be there. We don't have them there for welfare reasons. But the owners are there and we share those lovely videos that you're seeing. And the second question, of course you can come, Patrick.
Yeah, I'd love to come.
Get in.
Yeah.
National Cat Awards, yes, absolutely. No, this would be great, actually. This would be fantastic. Look, thank you so much for coming on the show. And you know what? For actually organising and being a part of something that will mean a huge amount to a lot of people. That's Zahir White, their National Media Officer for Cats Protection. And, of course, one of the National Cat Awards organising team.
Well, Mark says, my mother had a cat that would walk her to work, and when she came out for lunch, the cat would be there to walk her home. The cat was seen at home when my mum was at work, so the cat wasn't staying at mum's work and waiting for her to come out. Every now and then, the cat would find her in the prison and walk the wings with her. Oh, OK, the mother wasn't in prison, she's a prison guard. Yeah, so cats are companions.
Cats are companions, absolutely, indeed. Yes, I am more of a dog guy myself, but anyway, there we go. Well, look, it's been a wild ride this morning, ladies and gentlemen, hasn't it? I've certainly enjoyed it. We've covered a variety of different things, but yes, thank you very much for everyone who's been tuning in. GBViews, gbnews.uk is that inbox, but of course, That's it for us now, to the point, but don't go away anywhere because the briefing is coming up right now with the wonderful Gloria De Piero.
Hello, Alex Deacon here with your latest weather update. Three-way split today. Sunshine and showers for Scotland and Northern Ireland. A dull and damp zone in central areas, and then largely dry and bright in the south, thanks to an area of high pressure. Low pressure is dominating further north, and it's in these central areas where we've got the dull, damp weather from these weather fronts, bringing cloud and rain for much of the afternoon over parts of northern England, north and mid Wales, and into the Midlands at times. The far north of England may brighten up. Some fine weather for Northern Ireland, not too many showers here. Sunny spells across Scotland, but also mostly dry and bright at times here. Some sunny spells, particularly in the southeast, could see highs of 21 or 22. It feels a lot cooler than that, though, with the cloud and rain over northern England.